Welcome to Transit Collective Wrestling Talk. I am your host, Andy, joined as always by the Punisher himself. It's Mr. Dale.
Yeah, I'll take the L on that one. I'm not even gonna lie on this. Welcome everybody to the show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. So a couple of weeks ago, we asked the question like, hey, look, what's next for the February docket? Because we did St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I figured, hey, let's be really generous to the other companies at this time and let's talk about ECW. So I could have done a lot of things. I think there was like Cyber Slams in there. I think there was a lot, but I figured let's go down the 1995 route. So I picked this pay-per-view per se, or non-premium live event, or what's the opposite of premium, Andy? Discount live event.
Discounts, yeah. Wouldn't even know whether they call it discounts or what you call this, but
so we're gonna go. We're gonna go to ECW Double Tables 1995. All right. So we're in everybody's favorite bingo hall for this one. We're not even gonna need. I think I know why you did that, but we're not really gonna go with the too in depth as far as what the attendance is. It's an ECW pay-per-view. You know who the figures are. You know who the figureheads are. You know everybody in the crowd there. There was even a guy smoking cigarettes 3 rows from the ring. So good for them. They had fun. All right. Did you and I have fun reviewing this? Maybe.
No. Certainly not, my friends.
No. And like I said, I am taking the L on this. But we're going to have to go through it because just so the viewers don't have to go through that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or the people listening don't make sense. And I'd like to interpret Andy actually changed his background to actually make it look premium.
Yeah.
To make up for this event. All right.
Because I just wanted to show the difference in taste between me and Dale. He goes for the basic Blair. I go for a premium.
You go for the steak.
Yeah.
I go for the sizzle. On the table,
or in this case, the grizzly fat.
It really wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like I tuned into this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting, and I've never seen anything open up, or at this point I never even heard Jason Sensation speak. Joey Styles brings him out, and we start the pay-per-view off with Jason Sensation. Crowds saying, and he's talking about his suit. He brings out the pit bulls. And then he brings out another man named Jason, and it's not literally, but it's a guy that is Jason from Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at this point in the pay-per-view, what were you thinking? Or this discount live event here?
The only thing I can really say is, oh, wow. Even from this point, I was like, yeah, Jason's an idiot. Joey, you couldn't really hear him that well. I thought the crowd was too loud. I didn't think he got the production quite right there. You couldn't really hear him as well as what you should have done.
The company never got the production right.
No, but I think at this point of time as well as they were still trying to find the feet with everything, I think you can tell it was very early on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're testing the waters here. And then there's also, we'll talk about the transition that needs to be made a little bit later on. With a couple of people in this pay-per-view, and a lot's changed from what you and I would remember as far as ECW goes from this event to later years that you and I have reviewed. But I'm looking at Jason Sensation at this point, and I said, wow, he's what you would get if you mated Paul Heyman with the Tick.
Oh dear.
Crowds were great because they were actually making fun of Jason. He said, take a look at my suit. And the crowd started chanting Kmart suit. That was pretty funny. It's all downhill from here. Inside, you're starting off a good event when the other talent is already in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to talk about the Young Dragons, who were just random people.
Young Dragon 1 and Young Dragon 2, to be precise.
Yes. They were the Butch and Luke of ECW. But they weren't even Japanese. They were unmasked about a quarter of the way into this match. And we're going to talk about their partner for a second. Do you have any idea about Hack Myers?
No, no.
When you saw Hack Myers, what were your thoughts?
Um, he looks like a scruffy Bulls Mahoney.
It's a fair equivalent there.
Mm, that
But
says a lot if you're a scruffy Bulls Mahoney.
hey, that's not a I mean, that's it. But the crowd loved him. He was the Shah of ECW. They were chanting
Mm,
Shah with every chop. Man, this guy was just if you want to talk about, all right, I'll use the term outlaw. This is it.
yeah, he did spank that girl, which was quite good.
And I think he gave her a pile driver too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
looked terrible.
Mm,
But the reason why we're really stretching this out is because we really don't have much good to say here. We'll get
yeah.
to maybe a good part
No,
that you and I
no,
will
well,
discuss and will agree on at some point.
yeah.
I,
One
I
thing I
know
will
that.
say is though that Jason the Terrible and the Pitbulls did win the match. There's your spoiler right there.
This is it. A couple of notes I have on the pit bulls. They didn't sell because they didn't know how to.
No,
Just some of the worst staggered punches ever that probably put to shame a lot of people. Look, Andy even disappears with the background. That's what we wanted to do with this actual show. Um, one good thing I will say was that I did like the vintage introduction here, as far as just that corner. There's the drape, and people would come through there. All right, which we'll probably get to focus on a little bit later. If
mm,
if in case anybody was wondering, I didn't look up who Jason was underneath the Jason mask. I didn't care because he was just terrible. He threw one nice clothesline. That's it. And I think he did a splash, and that was the match. There's stuff going on when there's a post-match interview and Hack Myers is beating up his partners and nobody gives a damn about anything going on
no,
there.
no, no. Don't think anyone knew what was going on, and then obviously that crazy girl in the bridesmaids or the wedding dress comes in.
Yeah, the
Again,
antithesis for Daphne.
yeah, yeah. Which
On
is
to the
just
next one.
yeah, and the next one wasn't too bad, to be fair. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
We had Tommy Dreamer, a very young Tommy Dreamer, still hadn't become the ECW guy that we know and love. Defeated Stevie Richards. I've always liked Stevie, always rated him. And we had a little sprinkle of Raven, which was good.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Raven wrestled at that point either. I think he was just introduced too. And
Mm,
there's Stevie. Couple notes because I'm not gonna divulge too much into this because Stevie Richards took everything that he did in his career and ran with it and did a great job. That right to censor gimmick was not easy to do. You could not just have that for anybody.
no,
And look, I think he just paid dividend. It paid dividends because this is something that we'll probably talk about it at later pay per views. Within the next couple of months. But
mhm,
I think that Steve Richards is, and I know that you loved him.
yeah,
And when you look at the body of work that he did, maybe a little bit in TNA without being Dr. Stevie,
yeah.
um, the guy is a gamer. He's somebody that you're able to have a good quality match with, and I think that that's overlooked a lot with him.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with you. I think he was just really, really good, mate. And I think he had a very good brain. Is he working anywhere?
Got to be training, I think. I don't think he's on an active roster wrestling, but I would definitely think that he's a trainer. I could see guys like him and Spike opening up a school and just teaching people how to actually do good things.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
one other thing, Richards would get better and better. Um, this is Dreamer's look that peaked here, and that's it.
Mm,
He
yeah,
didn't advance whatsoever, not just looks wise, but also wrestling wise. The
yeah.
ending here was weak. You want to know how this ended, guys? This. Tommy Dreamer did this, folded his hands, clasped them, hit Richards in the groin, and rolled him up. Not
Mhm.
even, it like sunset flip rolled him up. It is a terrible way to end the match. So we're batting 0 for 2 on this one, okay?
Yeah. And then we move on. We've got might be Wick Rep defeated Paul Laurier with Jason again. Jason seems to be back. Who cares? No one.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish this was quadruple table and I smashed each side of his head. with
Yeah,
each one of those. It
yeah,
was, I don't know who this Paul Laurier guy was, but man, was he green. It looked like a training seminar in there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
But it was what it was. Mikey Wickrek was okay. He wasn't a bad wrestler.
great trainer. He's trained a
Yeah,
lot of people. He's a
yeah.
trainer here on Long Island. He's a great
Is he?
trainer. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, he runs a school out east and not too far east. When young Dale was thinking about doing things in the business, I was actually going to join that, but it
well,
was kind of expensive if I recall at the time. But there are some people that I know that actually went to the school and have successful careers. I think the latest that you would probably hear of is Willow Nightingale, actually
mm,
in AEW. So when she's not smashing people on the floor head first, she could do a couple of chin locks here. I
yeah,
wish there was some chin locks in this match because to me, it's just like I like Mikey, and you could tell Mikey was at the point where he's just like, dude, I got to work with this guy. Like, I got to make chicken
yeah,
salad out of chicken shit with him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you could tell that the whole way through. He was just a bit, you know what I mean? But it was what it was. Then we move on from the bad to the ridiculous. Ian Rotten defeated Axel Rotten. Pleh.
This is disgusting.
Yeah.
And these are why Ian Rotten's the reason why in a lot of states wrestling couldn't take place.
Mm.
It was decommissioned because of the blood and how disgusting it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just looking at how this opened, Axel came out there and Axel was likable. When he was with Balls Mahoney, that was a likable tag team.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They have a lot of memorable hardcore spots here. But I think overall, when you look at Ian, it's just like these is just backyard to the bone.
Yeah.
like like everything about this was just so Bush League. And I'm just sitting here wondering, like, yeah, the crowds are into the chair shots, but the story of brother versus brother just looks so bad here.
Yeah. And that's the problem, isn't it? It's like it just wasn't considering what it was meant to be. But do you know what? I feel like half the problem is down to the production. Do you know what I mean? I really do. I think their production's half the problem because it doesn't explain what you want it to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So when you have one steady cam that's kind of following the tracking of everything, it's kind of interesting. And then there's probably I'm not gonna. All right, I'll take a guess. Like 3 cameras throughout the whole event,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would assume. So one over by the stage, the entrance
Mm,
way. Then you have the
yeah.
hard cam, and then you have one on the side of the ring. Look, Paul made the most out of what he could. We're not going to
Mm,
sit here and say this is WrestleMania, but look, we're just, if you're going to have good production, make sure you have some quality stuff. And this was not quality.
no, it
In
wasn't.
case in case anybody's wondering, yes, we're zipping through these couple of matches because there's not really much to be told. We literally
No.
just went through 4 matches here. And we're just letting you guys know, yes, this could be a shorter episode, but I will get into something later on.
Yeah, yeah. To be
Um,
fair, guys, no matter whether it's good or bad, we'll always review it, and that's what we're doing here today.
Helping you out. We're helping out the world. So just in case anybody wanted to know, yes, this could actually be considered community service, wrestling community service.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we put that on a shirt? We are wrestling community service.
Fucking sometimes we are, I tell you. But we did move on to some good stuff now, though.
And this is what I wanted to say. Okay. So imagine eating a shit sandwich to enjoy surf and turf.
Yeah.
That's what we just did. We just watched the Rotten Brothers have a rotten match, and it was just disgusting. But we got somewhere that we go, this was okay. Andy, I'm putting it out there. This next match, I'm not even lying to you, could be a Tort Award winner.
Yeah, it was a great match. It really was. And considering, it's got 2 douchebags in it for different reasons.
What we're going on about is the crippler Chris Benoit versus Al Snow.
Yeah.
A young Al Snow, no facial hair, very generic Tracy Smothers looking tights against a young chip on his shoulder Chris Benoit with something to prove.
Wild hair.
Great hair, just pillow permed out, awesome. Andy, this guy, he knew he was leagues better than everybody else, especially watching the match prior.
100%. And do you know what else you could see back then? You couldn't really see it during his WWE running, but back then you could see so much of Dynamite Kid in him. So
Without a
much.
doubt. Probably most here.
Mm,
I would think because
yeah,
he's coming straight from like, I got something to prove. I'm here. He's talking crap to the United States people. He's saying, "Is this the best that you have to offer?" And Joey Styles actually mentioned in this. He goes, "This is the most wrestling in 5 minutes that he's seen in the last 5 years." No
yeah.
kidding. No kidding. Just let's go through this match because we open up and it's just those two are standing in the ring. There's no entrances really, if I recall. They just get right to it. And Al is selling the hell out of Benoit, but Al also has some tricks up his sleeve. Springboard back, drop kick to Benoit, and that probably did something to his neck, which you could tell, especially when you get jerked like that. That's not good.
No.
Crowd was hot for this match, and rightfully so. Wouldn't you be foaming at the mouth if you just watched the Rotten Brothers?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is, I think you're right in saying that they were hot for this match because they'd just seen so much crap that they were really thinking, and they weren't disappointed either. It was just back and forward, really good. Nothing wrong with this at all. Two solid guys who could actually work.
You could probably put this on TV today.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, and people can learn from it. I never heard of this match, to be honest with you.
No.
So when this came on, I was like, look at Al Snow with no facial hair and no gimmick.
Yeah. And also, just one thing I want to say is, before anyone starts in the comments or anything like that, we know what Benoit done. We're not bothered with a wrestling channel. That's all we talk about, wrestling. If he comes up, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're not going to go out there. Good point. I think to look at this, look at the wrestling prowessness. Prowessness. Yes, very good.
Ooh.
Thank you. That Benoit had and the pedigree that he had too, just with every move, these German suplexes, and then Snow doing German suplexes and just counters. This was amazing. I'm watching this and I'm just like, why couldn't we have at least one more match like this prior?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stevie Kick was fine, but look at what's going on here. Like, you mean to tell me Too Cold Scorpio wasn't in there yet? He had to have been.
Yeah.
But just I'm watching this, and Benoit's clotheslines are art. Just the way he clotheslines and comes around. And I've never seen a guy which you knew that somebody was going to duck his move, but he made it look so convincing. Not just on clotheslines, but anything that Benoit did. Think about how he would finish off. When he would do a clothesline, he'd kind of square his body off too.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was the way that he hit it and then turned. It was just so good altogether, and everything was so sharp. Bam, and then stop, boom, and then stop. I always say, like, they call him the Wolverine, but for me, he was more like like a viper. He was, because he was so kind of like, 1 minute he was fast, then next minute he'd slow it down, but it'd be a strike and then stop. It was so good.
Yeah, he was coiled up too.
Yeah.
No pun intended, with his neck and everything. I just love the spot he calls out the U.S. This is the best you have to offer, and Snow is taking it and doing well. I think he loses to a nice dragon suplex too.
Yes,
Beautifully done. Now I'm watching there, going, amazing how 9 years from now this guy will be world champion.
Well, and so rightly so, though. Rightly so.
He showed more gimmick and tenacity here, personality and tenacity here than most of his stay in WCW.
Yeah, I think in WCW, though, I think he was known as a good worker, but he was in that Bischoff kind of, not school of wrong, but how can I put this? He was in that Bischoff school of, you're a good wrestler, but you're not top of the shop because you're not Hogan, you're not that type of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and think about how bold it was for WWE to say, let's take this guy with no quote-unquote personality and put the strap at him.
Yeah.
Good for them, too.
Oh, yeah, because you had him, you had Eddie Guerrero. They were all looked at in that type of same vein, wasn't he?
Yeah, We know who had the personality in that group, but
Oh,
still.
yeah.
A couple other things here from this match, and we're really divulging on this, not just because the rest of this event was garbage,
Well, it
but
was.
I it was. But I will say I love this match. Like I watched it twice
Yeah.
because that's how good it was.
Yeah.
Al Snow was textbook in this. He also looked like a guitar tech for Faith No More. I just like the fact that Benoit said he's done and just kind of did the dragon suplex to finish the match.
Yeah.
He knew he was leagues better than watching the Rottens the match before. That's all I got to say about that. It is
Oh,
just,
yeah. Do you know what? It's probably give them confidence as well coming out to, oh, well, this is what we've got to follow. Brilliant.
he
You
knew
know,
that he had the audience in the palm of his hand.
mm,
Greatness.
100%. All right, let's
Good
move
match.
on then. We've got the next one. Probably one of the most overrated person in wrestling, Mr. Shane Douglas. Defeated Tully Blanchard for the ECW title. Paul was doing what a lot of companies have done at this point and going back to drink from the old guys well, which he done here with Tully. Why do you think Paul Heyman loved Shane Douglas so much? Because I have never seen it, Dale.
I think it could probably go back to when this originated. What was that, 93? He was the guy that was the scapegoat for a lot of the let's separate from the NWA at that point.
Mm,
I think that was the key to that. I think that's why he took a bullet for him. And I think Shane had a lot of pull because of where he's been. He was a dynamic dude with Laurinaitis, so that's you pay your dues with that one. He had a couple of stints in WWF, and I'll get into another one after and while we're talking about this. And I thought it was so weird because this is the first time that you and I have actually reviewed a Tully Blanchard match.
yeah.
Which is okay because everything after this will be skyrocketing in value. So I was looking at this and I said Shane must have owed Tully a lot of money because Tully was full of offense this whole match.
Yeah.
You what did you think of Tully overall?
The other half of the Brainbusters. No, I don't know. I didn't really like Tully that much. He was just one of the horsemen to me. He was all right, but he wasn't. A fourth arm was much better than him. Rick was better than him. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he knows.
but he was okay.
Yeah, he's got the look there. And at this point in his career, he's trying to grow his hair long. So he looked like a mix between Gypsy Joe and Waylon Mercy.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe you should kind of like buzz that thing down a little bit. Kind of go, or you can't have the length of Gordon Gekko because up here it's gone, but that's another story. Shane was just mailing it in. You could
Yeah.
tell he had the works to
Yeah.
go to WWF at this point. There's nobody could tell me otherwise. We're in February. Look at the timeline here. February, right? When is he coming into the Federation? May?
Yeah. So he already knows he's on his way out at this point, doesn't he?
Yeah. And that's, I think, was it the May pay-per-view, Andy? Was it in your house?
It was, wasn't it, when he finishes the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was around that time.
He's talking with people. He knows because this match was just a lame duck.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, Shane
again,
got a terrible roll up and gets the win, and Tully got paid.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll move on anyway. We've got Cactus Jack defeated the Sandman. Nice to see Cactus Jack here, and it's always good to see the Sandman.
When I started this match, I was like, why does this look familiar? Do you remember the Mick Foley DVD when he said this could have been a miss on there? He had a couple of different matches that were like, some of them were not so great. And this was one of them. Sandman was knocked out within the first chair shot and
Yeah.
didn't know where he was. That's why he kept getting up, and the match took longer than it was supposed to. I said, oh my God, this is it. This is the match. I had no idea it was on this pay-per-view. And it's just so funny because if anything, it's entertaining in the fact that like even the referee at some point had to tell him to stay down or force him down.
Yeah. I just thought it was a great match, and it was exactly what it needed to be with these two guys.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I like.
And it's also nice to mention that woman was in the corner of the Sandman as well.
It's always good to see her. You know,
Yeah.
it's sad. And it's another locker room she shared with Chris, which is bizarre when you think about it.
Yeah.
And then they'll go to WCW, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I will say though, I'm watching this and I'm looking at, not to divulge too into it because it's like you know what you're getting here. All right, Sandman's just going to be all over the place, knocked out, so it's not even under his control at this point. He's just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Cactus on the outside, the guy threw his body out there. Just how is he walking? And this is 95 before any type of match in WWE.
Don't forget, he's got new hips and all sorts now, hasn't he? So, you know,
yeah, and new wokeness too. So
technology.
That might help. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, technology, but he had to get off Twitter because boo-hoo. But anyway, not getting into it, but I'm watching him throw his body all over the place. It's just amazing to me how he was putting over everybody with this, even a guy that was literally knocked out on his feet.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on this? I know this is
no, it's painful. I mean, with Cactus, when I watched this back when I was around that age, it was brilliant to watch. But now as nearly a 40-year-old man, I'm like, oh, do you know, and to be fair, that's the same with a lot of mixed stuff nowadays.
Good point.
You know, and don't get me wrong, I love him. I love Mick Foley. I think he's absolutely top dollar. But when you go back and watch this, it just makes, you know, maybe that's why as well, because I love him, because I think he's such a good guy. It's like seeing this stuff, just like, ooh, you know.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wince at that point.
Yeah.
Did you like the WCW Crusader Cactus Jack?
No.
You didn't?
No.
You didn't like the fact that he would come back to ECW and fight for the honor of Uncle Eric Bischoff?
No. None of that crap. Didn't really like it ever. Well, oh well. Right, let's move on then. We've got our main event. We've got Sabu and the Tasmaniac versus Public Enemy. Yeah.
Yep, it's Public Enemy, all right. Nah. They are god awful. I can't believe how over they were.
I know.
Even in WCW, when like guys like Harlem Heat were jobbing to them, I was like, "What is going on?"
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But you know, they done all right. They wasn't bad or nothing like that. It was okay. Do you know what I mean? They done the job here and they play to the crowd as they do and whatnot. Taz and Sabu were good. Didn't really like them two together though.
They didn't like each other.
No,
they didn't like each other too, which is kind of
No.
interesting dynamic at that point as well.
Paulie dangerously in the mix as well. Didn't like Paul at this point really either.
No.
I felt like because it was his own promotion, he should have stayed away from the camera for a long while.
Sounds interesting there. I mean, it sounds like something that'll be emulated at some point in time.
Yeah.
Do you know, by the way, I just saw it accidentally. Do you know who Jason the Terrible was?
Go on.
Tracy Smothers.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's just go into this match real quick because you need to put both members through the tables. Hence the title of this discount per view. All right.
Can I just ask as well, was this the first pay-per-view in wrestling to have a name after a match? Apart from like after the gimmick match, take away the Royal Rumble,
right? King of the Ring and King of the Ring.
No, but King of the Ring was named after a tournament, not a match.
Yeah, probably because you got Hell in a Cell. I wish there was like a Blacktop Bully
Yeah,
type pay per
but I
view.
think this was probably the first one, wasn't it?
World War Three. That's a gimmick
Ooh.
match.
Yeah. So probably the second then. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It all depends. Actually, this might have been.
The
But you
War
talk about
Games, probably the first, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, War Games. What are we thinking? You're right. Yeah, War
Mm,
Games had to have been
didn't even think of that.
because you know what? We don't want to put this near anything like War Games.
No, no.
This should not be. This should not. Like, all right, let's just go through the final here before
Yeah.
anything, because then we'll really go into it. But um, Sabu, I believe, is put through the table. Sabu is putting his life on the line again. He goes through the table with his foot, and you could tell he fucked up his foot bad. He even stops and has to push away Johnny Grunge, like, yo, get the hell away. No, was it Rock or Johnny Grunge? He got hurt there, and you could tell.
Yeah. He did.
I believe Sabu gets thrown through a table, but the ref doesn't see it. Then the ref sees Taz throw Johnny Grunge through a table, so both are eliminated. It's a table match. You know what's going to happen. People are going to miss. People are going to get hit. Then stuff's going to happen with the rest of the table. The shrapnel, I guess you could say. But then Taz and Sabu are named the champions on here. All right. Now, where does one find tables like that? Because I'm not sure if you're obviously a football fan. All right. American football. Do you know how the Buffalo Bills break tables or the fans break tables outside their stadium?
No.
The Bills Mafia, they call it. I'll send you
Do
something
they?
later on.
Ah.
Yeah, they hurt themselves. But anyway, those are different tables than what ECW uses. As I digress, what happens afterwards, I think, was called on the fly because
Right.
the crowd was so like okay into this match. They needed to go home with something hot. So the MVP of this whole freaking night, Chris Benoit, comes out and stops Sabu from putting Rocco Rock through a table again from the top rope. Benoit decides to power bomb off the top rope Sabu
Mm.
through a table. He's going for the belt. You know it. He
Yeah.
never did get it, did he?
He did not.
Okay, you ready for this? He was supposed to get the belt. When was that?
Wasn't long after this, was it?
Very long time after this.
When?
Night of Champions when he was supposed to face Punk.
Oh, yes, he was. Yeah.
Funny how this all comes full circle. We're not going to end this on a bad point, all right? But we're going to just talk about other pay-per-views that probably are better than this. Okay? What's one all right, so let's break this down. Let's break this down, this whole show, all right? What are you rating this, Sandy?
I am giving this a 1 out of 5.
We do out of 10.
1 out of 10. No, I'll give it a 3 out of 10 just for the Benoit match. Benoit Snow match.
We tell people, look, you can watch the pay-per-view, don't avoid it, but we'll tell you what to skip. We will tell you right now, skip this pay-per-view except for one match. If you can find it on YouTube, if you can find it anywhere, the Al Snow Chris Benoit match is excellent. Its runtime for that was 14 minutes. I'm sure everybody could pass 15 minutes with this match. I mean, even after match, because they take Snow out on the stretcher, so that leads to whatever. Maybe that's how he loses his mind and starts hanging out with the meanie and all them. I loved it. I love that match. I think this pay-per-view was garbage. I'm going to give it a 2. Yeah. I understand that you're probably going to whip me. I understand it.
No. To be fair, I'm going to rise above it, Dale. I'm going to rise above it, mate. So, on to next week. We're going to get back to some actual real wrestling pay-per-views and a bit of fun. So, we're actually going to go for Super Brawl in 1996.
Wow, excellent. Okay. Was the final solution in that?
I couldn't say. Let me just have a little look now. No, they was not.
Okay, all right, that's good because it's a little bit racist, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I've got it. I definitely wanted to do something a bit more cool. I couldn't do that. I will get you at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, look, we've gone through there, okay? Just want to talk something about this pay-per-view, okay? With ECW at this point. Because yes, we kind of zipped through this, but we figured let's dive into it a little bit more for a second, okay? As a whole, if you were marketing to a television program, okay, what would make you say, all right, look at this product and tell me what you would like on there? You have the Rottens. You have some makeshift guy, Tracy Smothers, acting like Jason, teaming with the Pit Bulls. You have Hack Myers looking like a disgusting freak. How are you marketing this to somebody?
Do you know what? I don't know the extreme. I think Paul Heyman took the right because when you put extreme in front of something, it gets your minds away from something that's polished. And I think that's why he managed to get away with it. I think changing it to Extreme Championship Wrestling really did help him out because it went from that kind of polished wrestling. And it was like, okay, but you haven't got the same production as WCW, you haven't got this as WWE or WWF at the time. And it's like, okay, but we're extreme. And it's like, given that extreme, it lowers the expectation, doesn't it?
Yes and no. The word extreme can mean something that's gritty, uncut, raw, and not so polished, so people would like that. I mean, you remember back in the late 90s, didn't they have a Doritos Extreme? Was that the
Yeah,
3D one? Or was
yeah,
that Doritos 3D? Like you had extreme flavors. So you're
yeah.
thinking like, okay, this is going to be something that's over and above and beyond because we're going to max out flavor. We're going to be a little bit robust in our production or what we're producing for you. But I don't understand how somebody could sit there and look up and down a card and say, "Hey, look, we have a budget here. Let's bring Tully Blanchard in." The fuck does that do for you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Like what? Like Andy, how do you sit there and say, "Okay, I don't know what this feud is between Shane and Tully. I don't want to look into it now."
Mm,
But there was no explanation whatsoever.
no,
Joey
no.
Styles is just like, "Here, this is a great wrestler." This is exactly what's going on today with wrestling. And I get it. Like this Benoit and Al Snow match, set it aside because you needed something like that, right? Like you
Yeah,
need something
yeah,
good like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, on here because
And
it made up for it.
that's a positive for Paul Heyman because he identified that across the board and always done stuff like that, didn't he? With the Guerrero, Mysterio, everybody else. He always had a good wrestling match on his card.
Okay, that's fine. But all right, we're gonna go to modern times here. How come if I watch a show, right, and there's let's say, scissor me daddy ass going on, which is probably the worst catchphrase ever. I said I used to be in school and go suck it to your friends. Not really funny. It's when you
Mm,
look back at it, but like scissor me daddy ass a lot worse and just very weird.
mm,
But got to pay its dues because fans are bringing signs again because of stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
They're dropping their phones, But then you have here's Daniel Bryan going through a gauntlet again. What is with everybody having to go through so many stipulations from somebody that's not an authority figure that's actually taking part in this that says, oh, to get to you, I have to do this, that, and the other thing. It's predictable booking,
Mm, yeah.
but at least
No.
there's character development on it. Ugh.
Well, that's half the problem, isn't it, Paul? But I suppose it is what it is. Unfortunately.
Look, and what we watch though, right now, that could have been a house show. That probably was a house show.
Yeah.
That's fine. That other company, they don't do house
Mm,
shows. And when they do, they advertise their house shows like, hey, we're having a super secret show.
yeah.
What? Are people I hope people realize like I'm not totally crapping on the product of today. I thought yesterday was great. Elimination Chamber had one
Yeah.
of the best
Yeah. Of course.
storylines. Okay. But I will say this, all right. Like it's never going to fly with us. Stuff where it's just like, here, let's just throw things at you and you should just appreciate all wrestling. Well, I appreciate certain things, but not everything. I don't have to appreciate or like everything.
No. And that's the problem, isn't it? But, oh well, we could go on all day about this, but we will keep on going, guys, with the old school content and keep you entertained as much as we possibly can. But
Sorry about the rant.
No, you rant on, mate. You rant on. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate all your support as always. Me and Deb will be back with an actual banger next week instead of what we've been put through this week.
Or you put, or what you guys have been put through.
Yeah, I actually texted Dale and said, "Why'd you hate me?" But yeah, we'll be back with Super Brawl next week, guys. So please like, subscribe, do all the good stuff that you do, and we'll see you again next week.